Hi, this is Ike from Groovy Entertainment. Today we got another book to play for you. Today's book is Pinocchio, and this movie was released February 23rd of 1940. So I can't play the movie, but I got the book. So this is from 1986, so let's get started. Hello, boys and girls. My name is Jiminy Cricket. Do you believe that if you wish upon a star, your dream will come true? I bet some of you don't neither did I until someone rather special happened. Let me tell you about it. The story begins in a little valley in Italy where the wood carver Geppetto lives. Geppetto made all sorts of toys out of wood. His shop was filled of cuckoo clocks, toy ducks, music boxes, and his specialty, puppets. One of those puppets sat on a table waiting for the finishing touches. It was a little boy puppet who was missing his eyebrows and mouth. With the afternoon, Geppetto looked at his brush in hand and started to paint in the eyebrows and mouth. Geppetto lived with his cat Figaro and his goldfish Cleo. He had always wanted to have a little boy, and while he was working on the puppet, he tried to think of his name. I have got it. I'll call this one Pinocchio, he said to Figaro. Later on, Geppetto put Pinocchio away for the night and got ready for bed. Before he settled down to sleep, Geppetto looked out of the window at the star-filled sky. Suddenly, he shouted, "Look, Figaro, do you see that really bright star? That's the wishing star." Figaro stared at the sky where Geppetto was pointing. There was a star that was brighter than all the others. I'm going to make a wish. I wish that Pinocchio would become a real live boy, said the woodcarver. While the whole world was tucked away in bed, a bright ray of light shined upon the valley of the village. Soon a falling star appeared and followed the ray of light until it reached the peddle house. A pale blue light filled the workshop and was transformed into the blue fairy. She had heard the pillow wish. The blue fairy glided across the room. "Pinocchio," she said, "I am the blue fairy, and I have the power to make wishes come true. The peddler had wished that you become a real live boy, so I should turn you into a boy, but you will still be made of wood. If you can prove that you are brave, unselfish, and able to tell right from wrong, you will become a real live boy." With a wave of her golden wand, she transformed the puppet into a wooden boy. Pinocchio opened his eyes and began to move his arms and legs. Opening his mouth, he began to speak. "I can talk, I can walk," he explained with joy. Jiminy Cricket, who had been watching, was amazed. "Well, I'll be darned. Pinocchio is a real boy." The blue fairy turned to Jiminy Cricket and said, "There's only one thing missing in Pinocchio, a conscience. Will you accept that role, Jiminy Cricket? Will you help him choose between right and wrong?" The astounded Jiminy Cricket looked at the blue fairy, open mouthed. "Do you promise to look after Pinocchio? to give him advice and see that he isn't laid astray. The blue fairy continued. Yes, ma'am, stammered the cricket. I promise to stay by his side and guide him, but I'm just a poor little cricket. And, well, the blue fairy smiled at the cricket, and with a wave of her wand, changed his ragged clothes into brand new ones. Flat, uh, Flatter his wings, the blue fairy disappeared, leaving behind a faint ray of the blue light. In the meanwhile, Geppetto, hearing voices, had came into the woodshop. He could hardly believe his eyes. There was his puppet dancing about and singing. Am I dreaming? Can this be true? My little Pinocchio is a real boy, Geppetto cried as he lifted Pinocchio in his arms. Oh, thank you, wishing star, for making my wish come true, said the kind woodcarver, hugging the boy close to him. Figaro and Cleo came to join the celebration. Cleo was so excited that she leaped out of her bow. I hope you are three going to be good friends, said Geppetto. After a while, exhausted by all the excitement, everyone went back to bed. The next morning, after breakfast, Geppetto handed Pinocchio some books. What are these for, Papa? Asked Pinocchio. Geppetto led Pinocchio to the front door. See some other children? They are going to school, and since you are a little boy and not a puppet, you too must go to school, Geppetto explained. An apple in one hand, his school books in another, Pinocchio strode off in search of the school. If I just follow this road, I'll find the school, he said, happily swinging his books and whistling. Pinocchio walked through the valley, quite unaware that he was being watched by two very suspicious looking characters. Hey, do you see what I see? The fox asked. That's a wooden boy, a puppet that walks and talks without strings. We can sell him to Charbonne, the stage manager who is famous for his puppet show, the fox said, rubbing his paws together. As Pinocchio came closer to the fox, tripped him with his cane. Oh, sorry about that, said the fox. It allowed me to introduce myself. I am J. Waterton, Flowerfeather. Honest John to my friend, said the fox with a bow. And this is my friend, he added, pointed to the cat. Where are you going in such a hurry? Asked J. Wallerton Foulfeather. I'm going to school, said Pinocchio. School? What do you want to waste your time going to school for? Asked with a sneer. Yes, added J. Wallerton Foulfeather. A talented young boy like you should be on stage. On the stage? You mean an actor? Said Pinocchio, his eyes round in wonder. Yes, the stage. Just think of it. Bright light, the roar of the applause, fame, more fun than school, replied J. Wallerton Foulfeather. Come with us, son. We'll make you a star. Meanwhile, Jiminy Cricket, who had been following Pinocchio from a distance, began to worry. He did not like the looks of Pinocchio to a compass, and decided not to let Pinocchio out of his sight. When Jiminy heard the conversation about acting, He was very alarmed. He had promised the blue fairy he would look after Pinocchio. He wasn't that sure that playing hooky to go on the stage was what the blue fairy had in mind for little wooden boys. Jiminy Cricket finally caught up with Pinocchio at the edge of the village, seeing his seeing his change about to enter a wagon. Jiminy began to shout, "Pinocchio, where do you think you are going? This isn't the school." "Hello, Jiminy Cricket. I'm not going to school today. I'm going to be an actor, a star," replied Pinocchio. "I'm going to meet Mr. Stonebird. He's going to give me a job in his puppet theater. Star, what all that nonsense about the stage? You come down from there this minute. Think of your papa, Geppetto," the angry cricket shouted. Pinocchio paid no attention to Jiminy Cricket and walked into Sunbird's wagon. Sunbird was delighted with the puppet without strings. Gleefully rubbing his hands together, Sambo's thought of all the money he was going to make. That evening, Pinocchio made his debut on stage. The crowd was amazed to see just a marionette without strings, able to dance and sing. As the applause continued at the end of Pinocchio's performance, Zambetto appeared on the stage and presents him as the marionette with the invisible strings. Pinocchio took his bow, aimed a shower of golden coins. All this attention went straight to Pinocchio's head as he was stage struck. When Pinocchio did not return that afternoon, Geppetto was very worried. When night fell and there was still no sign of Pinocchio, Geppetto and Figaro went out to search for the wooden boy. Lantern in hand, Geppetto scoured the village, calling out, "Pinocchio, Pinocchio," till his throat was sore. The wood carver and his cat spent the whole night in the streets, searching high and low, but no avail. Back at Stormbow, Pinocchio was in big trouble. After threatening to use him as firewood, Sambo had locked Pinocchio in a cage. Later that night, Jiminy Cricket slipped into the room and climbed up to the cage. "So this is how you become a star," he whispered, shaking his head sadly. As Jiminy Cricket struggled with the lock, a dazzling blue light filled the room. "It's the Blue Fairy," cried Jiminy Cricket. "You seem to have gotten off a bad start, young man," said the Blue Fairy. "Oh, it wasn't my fault," replied Pinocchio. "A giant monster with bulging eyes kidnapped me." Jiminy Cricket couldn't believe his ears. Pinocchio was telling a lie. Ashamed of his little friend, he covered his ears. "And what about school?" asked the Blue Fairy. "School? Well, that was a lot of fun," Pinocchio fibbed. With each lie, Pinocchio knew grew and grew until it, it stretched right through the bars of the cage. Pinocchio cried out in terror. "Now you see, Pinocchio, a lie grows and grows until it's as plain as the nose on your face," the Blue Fairy explained. "Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I promise never to tell a lie again," pleaded Pinocchio, trembling with fear. Seeing that Pinocchio was genuinely sorry, the Blue Fairy waved her wand and unlocked the cage. "Now remember this lesson. If you want to become a real live boy, you have to prove yourself worthy. And you, Jiminy Cricket, you had promised to be his conscience. Now I'm counting on you to show him right from wrong, said the Blue Fairy, disappearing in the tinkle. Come on, we are free, shouted Jiminy Cricket, leaping from the cage. Meanwhile, in a nearby tavern sat J. Wiltington, Foulfeather, and Baker. Those three scoundrels was complete in a deal. Baker was an evil man who entitled naughty boys away to Pleasant Island to make silly donkeys out of themselves and never be allowed to return home. Foulfeather and had agreed to help Baker find some boys. Filling their pockets with gold, Foulfeather and went off in search of victims. No sooner had they stepped outside the tavern than who should walk by but Pinocchio. Grabbing Pinocchio with his cane, Foulfeather tipped his hat and said, "Hello there, young man. Where are you off to?" "I'm going home to Papa," stemmed his starling boy. "You look a little bit pale. Let me check your pulse," said Foulfeather, taking Pinocchio's wrist. "Ah, just as I thought. You can't possibly go home in this state. What you need is rest and relaxation, and I know just the spot for that," explained the crafty fox. "Yes, he should go to Pleasant Island," added. "Pleasant Island?" asked Pinocchio. "You'll love it. It's a wonderful place," insists Foulfeather. Leading Pinocchio along, the two rascals filled his head with promises of games and toys and all the candy he could eat. Jiminy Cricket followed from a distance, wondering what Pinocchio was up to now. Pinocchio was handed over to Baker, who was waiting at the edge of the valley. The excited boy climbed up on a stage already filled with laughing, shouting, and boys. With a crick of the driver whip, the stagecoach started on its journey to Pleasant Island. By nightfall, the coach reached the port where a ferry was waiting to take it across to the island. During the crossing, Pinocchio made friends with a boy called Lampwick. As the boat neared the island, the boy started to cheer at the sight of an enormous amusement park. "Look at all them cigarettes and cigars," shouted Pinocchio. "Yeah," said Lampwick. "I hear that nothing is forbidden here. No grown up to say no," he added as they ran down the gangplank and onto the mysterious island. "If my mother could see me now, she'll have a fit," said Lampwick, helping himself to a large sandwich. "Now I can eat whatever and whenever I like." "Want a bite?" he asked Pinocchio. His friend shook his head. He was too busy trying to eat both a lollipop and a candy stick at the same time. While Pinocchio stuffed himself with candy, Jiminy Cricket was exploring the island. Hearing shouts, he creeped up behind Baker, who would give an order to his henchmen. "As soon as them brats turn into donkeys, I want you to round them up. He should be down in the salt mines by daybreak," yelled Baker, cracking his whip. Donkeys? Salt mine? I better get Pinocchio out of here, and fast, said Jiminy Cricket, running off to warn his friend. Jiminy found Pinocchio in the pooh hall playing with Lampwick. When Jiminy Cricket told Pinocchio what he heard, the two boys just began to laugh. Hey, who's this pest? Asked Lampwick. Why, don't you get lost? All right, said the Jiminy Cricket. Turn into donkey, see if I care, he added as he stomped off. The two boys continued to giggle, and to mock Jiminy Cricket, you think something bad was going to happen, laughed Lampwick. No sooner had he said this than he spouted donkey dares. While Pinocchio looked on open mouth, Lampwick grew a tail, and his feet turned into hoofs. Not noticing what was happening to him, Lampwick still went on laughing. Suddenly, Lampwick laughed turned into a hee-haw. Looking into the mirror, he saw that he had been completely transformed into a donkey. He jumped down from the pool table with a chattering and gobbled around in a great panic. Pinocchio, too, had sprouted donkey ears and a tail and was very frightened. Hearing Pinocchio's frantic cry, Jiminy Cricket rushed to him. I rushed to his aid. Quick, let's get out of here, the cricket yelled. Pinocchio and Jiminy Cricket raced across the now deserted island. Leaping over a mountain of candies and toys, they ran as fast as they could. Faster, Pinocchio. We have to get off this island before daybreak, urged the cricket. Finally, they reached the cliff overlooking the sea. Pinocchio dove in, and Jiminy followed, using his umbrella as a parachute. Being made of wood, Pinocchio immediately rose to the surface and began to float. Jiminy jumped on his back, and the current carried him toward the mainland. The bedridden Pierre finally reached the shore at sunrise. Shaking the water out of his hat, Jiminy Cricket noticed a floating bottle. Pinocchio grabbed the bottle. There are the matches in it, shouted the cricket. Doing as he was told, Pinocchio reached for the bottle and pulled out a piece of paper. Jiminy Cricket began to read the message. It's from Geppetto. He said he was on his way to Pleasant Island when the minstrel, the whale, followed his boat. I'm going to save my papa from the nasty well, Pinocchio said, running towards the water. Wait a minute, yelled Jiminy Cricket. You can't search underwater. You are made of wood. You'll float. Not with the stone weighing me down, replied Pinocchio, as he jumped into the water. Once at the bottom of the ocean, Jiminy and Pinocchio began their search for Minstrel. Suddenly, an enormous shadow covered the ocean floor. Looking through the water, Pinocchio and Jiminy were terrified to see Minstrel luring threateningly overhead. Pinocchio untied the stone and floated up toward the well. Just at that moment, Minstrel was about to eat lunch and opened his gigantic jar, sucking in a whole school of fish as well as the struggling Pinocchio. Meanwhile, Jiminy Cricket banged on the well-closed teeth, yelling, "Come on, blubbermouth, open up." Pinocchio swam with the fish down the well throat. In his Calvin-like belly, there he saw Geppetto and Figaro fishing from the side of the boat. When Geppetto pulled his fishing net, he had quite a surprise. The mouth of squirming, wiggly fish with his dear Pinocchio, hugging his son in his arms. He cried with joy. "Papa," said Pinocchio, "I had come to rescue you. Oh, my dear son, if it was possible to escape from here," Geppetto sighed. Geppetto noticed Pinocchio's ears and tails. "No time to explain now," said Pinocchio. "We have got to get out of here." "Yes, but how?" asked Geppetto. Pinocchio began breaking up pieces of furniture they found floating around. "We'll start a fire. Miss Joe will wake up and sneeze. Then we will be thrown out of here." When Metro began to feel the effect of the fire, he tossed and turned, shaking his gigantic body inside. The captors quickly jumped onto a raft and began to paddle up toward the well throat. When they reached the well mouth, the way of the barred by his gigantic teeth, but suddenly Metro let out a snorting sneeze that blew the raft out into the open sea. There they were joined by Jiminy Cricket, who had just about given them up for lost. Although free from captivity, they were not out of danger. Metro was furious, and seeing the raft bobbing up ahead, No dived under the water for an instant. It seemed as if he had disappeared, but the giant flipper whipped up under the raft, tossing it in the air and smashing it to pieces. Pinocchio grabbed Geppetto, who was barely conscious, and carried him on his back. "Leave me, save yourself," the old man moaned. Eventually, they were washed up on shore. Regaining consciousness, Geppetto looked around to see if everyone was there and saw Pinocchio laying face down in the water. "My boy," Geppetto cried, lifting the lifeless body into his arms. The sad group stumbled back to the village. Geppetto laid Pinocchio on his bed and kneeled down at his side. "Little Pinocchio, you risked your life to save me," the old man sobbed. Suddenly, a brilliant bright light lit the room. The blue fairy had arrived, waving her magic wand at him. She said, "Wake up, Pinocchio. You have proved you are a brave little boy. I should reward you by giving you life." The lifeless wooden boy was suddenly transformed into a real live little boy. Sitting up, Pinocchio blinked his eyes and asked, "What's wrong, Papa?" "Pinocchio, Pinocchio, you're alive," gasped Geppetto with joy. "You are a real live boy." Geppetto jumped with joy. While Figaro danced a jig at the last old man wish had come true, Geppetto watched the happy scene with tears in his eyes. "Well, I guess I'll be moving on now," he said to himself. "And now I know that wishes do sometime come true." So that was Pinocchio. That was released February 23rd, 1940. And this is from 1986. So please like, subscribe, share, and comment, and have a groovy day. We have another video coming out real soon.